Hey everyone, super nice of you to tune in. Before you're going to watch this interview, you might want to know what you're about to see. And thinking back on on this interview, I didn't even introduce Ramona properly. So I'm kind of sorta am going to do that now. Also, I'm going to put two links in the description. One is an interview with a lady she did a while ago where it becomes very clear what her past is, what her history is, and how she came to do what she does nowadays. And it's such a great interview for multiple reasons. So I highly recommend that. And then also, I will put a link in the description. That is a recent interview she did with a guy called Will about dating, which is amazing. So, what I can tell you about Ramona is that I adore this woman. She has such a big heart and she is such a happy, wonderful, aligned, light human being that also channels an amazing group consciousness. She calls them, or her, or it, her inner being, Oprah without an H. And yeah, she just feels real. She is a coach, she has group coaching, she's a writer. She recently released her first book. And I had a lot of fun speaking to her, and you know what? I'll leave it at this. Just check out this interview, check out the other links that I shared with you, and also Ramona offers everyone that is interested in it her free guide, How to Love Your Body. I'm not sure if that's the correct title. It's a free guide, and I highly recommend it because the body, our bodies, is that what interprets messages, and the body is through which we experience our physical reality. So, body love is actually something that is vital for having a wonderful life experience. So also for that, I'll put the link in the description. And for now, I'm going to stop talking. And I wish you a lot of fun and a lot of clarity and everything you wish for yourself and beyond with the interview.
Hey, Ramona. So nice of you to make time to answer some questions
Absolutely.
about a topic that I love, which is romance and dating. And I
It's a
recently,
popular topic, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And I recently saw your interview with Will, forgot his last name.
Yeah.
I'll put the link in the description for anyone who watches this and who's interested. And it just, it was so good. There was so many good things in there. And I had been wanting to interview you for a while, but all the time it was like, nah, there's nothing because I know you through Gina and Oprah that you channel.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to interview you with that because there's also so already a lot of that out there. And then I
Sure.
thought, oh, maybe your book, but it wasn't choiceless either. And then I saw this interview and I was like, yeah, I lit up.
I'm very glad to be here to talk about that for sure.
Amazing. So one of the first things that I instantly practiced with when I heard it in the interview that you did with Will. So you're speaking about how it is good to focus on the pros and not on the cons.
Yes.
And I practiced a little bit with that. But before I will go a bit more into that, maybe you would like to unpack this a little for the ones who haven't seen that interview. And maybe in the meantime, you have something more to add on to it. Why so important to focus on just pros of someone?
Well, it's the basic way that I live my entire life and that I teach. So it's very much in alignment with everything. In other words, it's not just about dating, but it is exceptionally apparent and impactful in the dating scene because this is where just culturally people have developed a nasty habit. And that is thinking, okay, I've had a relationship. It didn't go well. It's over for whatever reason. And I'm going to make sure that the thing that I didn't like about that, or the thing or things that I didn't like about that experience that really struck home because relationships are so important to us, I'm going to make sure that never happens again. And it doesn't matter what it is, whatever that is. And it could be a long list or it could be just one thing. Could have hurt a lot. It could have just been a kind of a minor irritant, but you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And then you have another relationship. And then you end up with another list, or at least one thing. Well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to make sure I avoid anyone who looks like that person or who sounds like that person, who reminds me of that person. Pretty soon, we've got a really long, extensive list of everything that we don't want. And we don't really do this with cars or houses. We say, well, this last house was small, and so I want a big house. I mean, it's a lot easier to just say, I don't want a small, you don't say, I don't want a small house anymore. I mean, you might go back and forth. I want a big house. I don't want a small house. I want a big house. I don't want a small house. But you don't really hammer on small house, small house, small house. But yet in relationships, that's what we do. Oh, no smoker, no drugs, no long hair, no short hair, no facial hair, no, like, it's amazing what we come up with that almost as a placeholder. In other words, if this person, let's say they read a lot, they were kind of nerdy, kind of bookish, and they read a lot, and it didn't go well. And so you're thinking, well, I don't like people who read books. Well, the books didn't have anything to do with it. That just happened to be a characteristic of that person, right? So we take things that actually we don't like and things that remind us of what we don't like, and we put them all on the list.
Yeah.
And we do this like exponentially in dating compared to any other topic in our lives. And anytime you focus on anything you don't want, you get more of that. It may not look exactly like it when it shows up. In fact, it typically doesn't, but it turns out to be the exact same thing. Yeah. And it's anyone who's been through a series of relationships and looks back and sees a pattern, you can say, wow, I really attracted my mother over and over and over and over and over again, right? Yeah. And so we think we've got some sort of a deep-seated psychological problem when we see
exactly
that. And we don't. We've just been making a list and focusing on it and manifesting it because we're powerful and we're genius and we're creative and we're free to do as we wish. And so we manifest that negativity over and over and over.
I love that. I love what you just said, because that was actually a question that was forming. Because we tend to go digging like, what's wrong with me that I constantly, it must be that from my childhood. It must be. But it's super simple. It's what we focus on.
Yes. Isn't that lovely?
It's amazing. It's so simple. It's so simple. And well, you probably know this as well, because I think you've done a lot of inner work over, I don't know, 10, when did your partner pass away?
9.5 years.
Yeah. So you did a lot of and all of a sudden we come to the point like, oh, it's actually way simpler than I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me a long time to figure that out, to start to allow it to be that simple. I mean, I immersed myself in it. I was working part-time from home at a job that I've been doing for a long time. And so it was very easy. I could do it, whenever I felt like it, set my own hours. And so I had like 8, 10 hours a day to focus on my recovery, my expansion, my enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. And so I read all of the Abraham Hicks books, and I watched all the YouTube videos. And a friend of mine had sent a box of 50 of their CDs of, highlights from all the things over the years. And so I read that. And then I bought their video series, and I watched all of that, and I absorbed and I absorbed, and I went to all their webinars, and went on their cruises and the land cruise and all that. And did I just freeze? I think I just froze.
No,
No?
not
Okay.
no.
Okay. So anyway, so I just immersed myself in it, and I was walking around within months quoting Abraham Hicks verbatim, like whole paragraphs and stuff. I like my life depended on it. I mean, I knew that. And so I really jumped into it. And it still took me 4 or 5 years, to really start to understand to really get that clarity on how easy it really is.
Yeah.
I was so used to working hard. I was an overachiever, and I was a prover and an earner of respect, and proving myself to who, I don't even know who, and trying to hold my tongue just right, and trying to be perfect, and trying to be, good in a way that everybody else would recognize that I'm a good person, like really caught up in other people's opinions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And letting all of that go was essential.
Yeah.
And every time I let something go, I felt lighter.
Yeah.
And things got easier, and I was happier, and I didn't even know why. Maybe walking down the street and grinning about something, and people would say, "What are you so happy about?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm just happy for no good reason. Yeah. And so it all works. It all works. And it's one of the reasons I do the work I do today with Oprah, is to help other people get a much faster journey, because it did take me years and years. And I was a classical trumpet player. That was my first career. And when I wanted to learn something, I'd just go take a private lesson. I went to New York, I went to Chicago, went all over the place. If I found somebody who did something better than I did, and I really wanted, I went and studied with them. And so I wanted a private mentor, basically, on this topic. And there wasn't one. I mean, Esther doesn't take private clients, and there was nobody else doing what she was doing. What she was doing is very, very distinctly different from anything else I found out there. And I looked. So that's why I do what I do. I'm paying it forward or paying it backwards, or whatever direction I'm paying it. I'm
in all directions.
In all directions, yes, thank you. And really helping people save a lot of time on that journey. So that's what I'm all about now, and especially in dating. Oh my gosh, especially.
I love that. And so, just before we jumped on, or before people see, because I'm not going to show them the beginning, I'm going to show them from when we officially started the conversation, and you said to me how you enjoy the things that I'm posting on Facebook and wherever. And for me, you, Oprah, and Gina are like vital in that growth and freedom within myself. Because
I'm so honored to hear that.
From show by example. And also I had a session with Oprah, and I watched a lot of Oprah videos that Gina did with you, and we had group sessions. And so I can feel like I can sense the essence that you are conveying with what because you live the freedom.
I do.
And you are the lightheartedness that you are assisting others with finding that within themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love to share. I love to share that part. I mean, if you think about it, if you go through life, we've only got a couple of ways that we can really make an impact. We can be something, we can do something, we can teach other people something, but acquiring a bunch of material possessions, or sitting around and complaining and really feeling kind of down in the dumps, or or, you know, all of the various professions that I've ever been able to think of. Nothing against it. I mean, you can do this work through any profession, but none of them really spoke to me. And I think just being me and being able to help other people by doing that, that's got to be like the biggest miracle,
Yes.
the biggest blessing. I feel so
Yeah.
fortunate
Yeah.
that I can actually impact people just by basically sharing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I love
really
that
fun.
too. I love that too. And so you just said something which I think is a really vital thing in the whole dating scene, with which I think more people are catching up on it, but I would really love to hear your perspective. So you just said something about kind of letting go of all the things that you thought you needed to be, and holding your tongue a certain way, and just and everyone, or I grew up with the idea you need to be blonde, you need to be white and have blue eyes, you need to, you know, and then, okay, I'm not all of that. Then you need to look that way. You need to definitely behave that way, and because otherwise it will never happen for you. So
Right.
all of these things, I think both sexes, and it doesn't matter who you fall for, everyone grows up with the idea you can be anyone but yourself.
That's really
Because
well put. That is
if
really
you're
well put.
yourself,
Be her, be him, be her, be her, but don't be yourself.
yeah.
Talk.
So please enlighten us with the truth of how, like, I think I know how it is, but I would love to hear from you. So who should we be, Ramona?
We should be ourselves.
Right?
You know, there's a thing that we humans do. We, for whatever reason, and not all of us, but almost all of us, really want to fit in with our colleagues, with our family, with our friends, with our whoever it is, with other people. And I guess, you know, we're social animals. We're almost like herd animals. You know, we're kind of a combination. We're predator and prey. You know, we're complicated. We've got these big, huge brains and these opposable thumbs, and it makes us very different from everybody else on the planet for whatever reason, you know? And so we think that we have to fit in order to survive. And it is a little bit true when you're a kid, you know, children are kind of pre-wired to make sure to get their parents to love them, because, you know, it takes us at least 12 or 14 years to get to the point where we can even remotely start to take care of ourselves. And you know, it's not like a kitten, you know, within 3 weeks they're off and running pretty much. And so we just really want to be approved. We want that approval. And that takes all kinds of turns, you know, infinite numbers and types of turns that it takes. Each of us are so unique. And yet it all really boils down to that. The fear of being outcast, the fear of not fitting in, the fear of isolation, the fear of loneliness. That's what's driving it, that fear.
Yeah. And so also what just came to me is, because you talk a lot about vibration, right? That I think we automatically vibrate or sparkle. I like sparkle at lighter, happier frequency where we're not pretending to be something we're not.
Absolutely. Look at any
So,
child. You'll
yeah,
see that. They're
yeah,
just being, they're not worrying.
exactly.
We haven't taught them enough yet.
So what would you, if I would come to you and I would be like, okay, I have no idea how to be myself, Ramona. Can you give me some pointers? How do I notice when I'm not myself? And like, what advice would you give me if I would have that problem?
Well, I would start with a couple of different things. One is that you are loved. And if you're feeling the way you're just describing, you're not feeling the love. The love is there, and you're not feeling it for whatever reason. No blame, no recriminations. You're not feeling it. So, first of all, let's get you feeling the love, because the love is always there. It's always all around us, supporting us, encouraging us, guiding us. And if it's kind of like the sunlight, the sun's always on. Sometimes we can't see it because we're on the other side of the earth is blocking it. Sometimes we've got an umbrella or a parasol up and we're blocking it ourselves. And sometimes we're standing in the shade of a tree, and it's kind of a nice trade-off. But when we're blocking it and we don't know it and we think it's dark, oh my gosh, where did the sun go? I mean, you could get really upset, really, really upset if you thought the sun was gone, really upset. And that's what we're doing to ourselves. We're blocking the love. We've been taught, and we accepted it, to block the love. So you've got to do whatever it takes to start feeling better. And that means letting the love in. And that means feeling worthy. That means controlling our focus. That means making decisions, setting an intention of what we actually want, starting to get some clarity on what we want. It means a lot of different things, but it starts with love, because fear and love are opposites. And if you're worried or anxious or trying real hard, you're expressing fear. Maybe not fear like, there's a bear, but fear. Because hate is not the opposite of love. Fear is.
And your system exudes fear. So you will constantly also be surrounded by if you use, I don't so much, but if people are familiar with law of attraction, then that's what you will attract more of. Yeah. And so you said focus, right? And I loved how because you also used that in the focus on the pros, not on the cons. And before I go into my question, I wanted to share this, which was really cool. So I was listening to the interview that you did with Will. I had to wait in line for something, and it was the perfect time for me to listen to it because I was like, rushing. But then I had to wait and sit down. And I was like, I'm going to listen to that. And so when I came to the part where you said, forget the cons list, just make a pro list. And so I wrote all the guys down that I dated. And I started to think of all their positive sides. And I'm not sure, I think you also mentioned it in that video, like, just do it with everything, not just with the people you dated, but just like focus on the positive. And so that day, and also from the moment that I heard that, I felt something lift. I already felt lighter because of listening to that and really getting it. And then I did that day with everyone that I met from that point on. I was just like focusing on what I liked about them instead of like, he just cut me off. No, nice shoes, or nice nose, or, you gave that example of someone looking like a dog, but she had a nice smile. And oh my God, it laughed so hard. So it was so interesting what happened in the gym, because I was on my way to the gym after, and after the gym, I had so many people focused on me positively and wanting to have a chat or smiling, and I was like, wow, because I felt really good. And apparently they were kind of like attracted by my lightheartedness.
Absolutely.
It was very exceptional. But so that's the focus, right? And you said just now also, like, think or just feel loved, but do your best. These are my words, to feel loved and control. I'm not sure if you said control, but mind your focus. So can you unpack that a little? Like the focus, what would you say? What would I have to focus on if I were having that problem of not knowing how to be authentically myself?
So if I were having trouble being authentic with myself, I would look around for something to appreciate, anything at all, a box of tissues, a cool, tall glass of water, the sunshine coming down through the leaves, that dappled sunlight that's so beautiful. Pick anything, your left elbow, if you can appreciate that. Like, yeah, exactly. You've got a good one. I like that. That's beautiful. Really good. So yeah, pick anything and start focusing on it in appreciation. Now I do what I call a rampage of what Abraham originally called a rampage of appreciation, and I have really picked up that up, and that's one of the main tools that I help people to adopt in their lives, and I teach how to do, and I do to this day. I do actually a rampage of appreciation plus about 3 other positivity practices every day, twice, 2 different people.
Wow.
Like it's a
Wow.
serious, commitment. But
Yeah.
you can just do this in 15 minutes. You can
Yeah.
do it a couple of times a week. Well, I did it every day from the very beginning because I know how important it is as a trumpet player. I just knew how important it was to practice every day. So I thought, I want to do this. I've got to practice
Makes
every day.
sense. Yeah.
But you could easily do this. I mean, I started off actually when I was learning the technique, I was doing it once a week, but it was very powerful. So you start with anything. Like I love this mug. I must have my coffee, and it's got a moose on it, right?
It's
So
really cute. I just saw it. Yeah.
right? So I love my mug. I love my mug. I love how smooth it feels, and I love how tall it is, and how it holds so much tea, And it has this really cool handle, and it says Alaska on the handle. You can see that.
That's
And
pretty
so
cool.
I can laugh about this. I can feel the sensuality of it. I can feel soothed by the warmth of it. I can appreciate all the work that went into it. I can appreciate all the people, the person who even designed it in the first place. So I can really go on and on and on about anything. And it doesn't matter what it is. Pick the easiest thing in the room. When you first started doing this, or every time you do this, pick the easiest thing and then let that lead wherever it goes. Don't try to control or anything, but just see if you can rampage for a couple of minutes. When you do that, you activate all of the beauty and the love and the perfection and the freedom and the joy in the entire world, and it starts coming to you.
Yeah.
As long as you don't reverse that action, that is your natural state. Look at any baby. They can sit there and chuckle about nothing. They can take glee in a feather. They can just, and that's our natural state. We unlearn that. Sit down, shut up, walk in a straight line, don't talk, read this thing, take this test. You failed the test. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all of a sudden it's not so lighthearted anymore, right?
Yeah.
But our natural state and the world's natural state is that lightheartedness, that loving openness, that authenticity. Think of a child being inauthentic. They can't. They don't know how. They wouldn't even know where to start. They would be like, what are you talking about? How can I be anybody but me? That would be crazy. Like it really is an unnatural state to be inauthentic. So it's really just a matter of focusing in on what's around us in appreciation, whether it's inside. I mean, I can appreciate my heart or my lungs. I can appreciate my smile. I can appreciate my sense of humor, or I can appreciate some physical item around me, or I can imagine something to appreciate. But as I appreciate, I start activating my real self.
Yeah.
The bottom line, it's the building block for everything else that comes next, is to start releasing the focus on negativity and start developing the focus on positivity. And it switches something in our brains. It switches something in our bodies. It switches, like you notice with the people around you, it switches every single person who's a vibrational receptor machine, just like we are. They're picking up on your vibes and they're responding, picking up on your vibes and responding. And that's all that's going on. And when you get down to that simple physics side of things, it gets real.
And also, Ramona, thank you for that. And also what I thought when you were speaking was, and it's actually, maybe the beginning is a bit difficult because you're not used to it, but then you're off flying because it's our natural state.
Yes.
Joy
comes back very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what we know.
It comes back very quickly. I say that it depends on how long we've been practicing and how really steeped, I mean, if you've been, led what most people would agree would be a very tumultuous, very traumatic, very whatever life, you've been really mixing it up. then it might take you a little bit longer than somebody who is just coasting through life and having a pretty good time, but just wanting to feel a little better. I mean, there are some qualitative differences there, but it's still easy. It doesn't really matter how long it takes because you start feeling better right away.
Yeah, yeah.
So it doesn't really matter how long it takes. If you feel better and then better and then better and then better, you're feeling great the whole time because it's all relative, right? Because somebody who's used to a really, let's say, a violent, community or surroundings, they don't notice the same things that you and I would if we're in this protected area, we've never been subjected to violence or something. Somebody gets mad, we're like, ooh. For the person who's experienced violence in her life, somebody gets mad, they're like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we just, our perception changes. And so as our vibration rises, then we want more. And as it rises some more, then we want more. But from down here, we didn't want up here, maybe secretly, but we're not like actively like, oh, I really wish I had that. We just want this. Yeah. So it's almost like playing a game of leapfrog with ourselves. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And this is more love, more joy, more freedom, more openness, more ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, there it is right there, more ourselves.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how I chose that quote on my new business card with so I have the flamingos.
The Dr. Seuss quote?
And I love that quote so much, and everything came together so intuitively, perfectly. Like, what is it again exactly? Why fit in when you were born to stand out? Dr. Seuss was really onto something, but that's the whole, and it doesn't really matter that we got where we got. Like, what matters is that we just give ourselves permission and allow ourselves to get out of the funk that we got into. No one's to blame. It's just, let's get out of here and let's create, in this case, dating, an amazing dating life with the same person, with a new person, with whomever. And I want to speak to you about something that Oprah said to me, and I think you have a book that you offer, right?
From Lonely to Fearless.
Yeah, no, not that book. The other book, Love Your Body.
Oh, it's a free guide. Yeah, How to Love Your Body in 5 easy
How to
steps.
Love Your Body. Yeah. So I remember asking Oprah, like, Oprah, all well and good, but where's my dude? And Oprah said to me, I don't know if you remember, if you watch, if you know what Oprah said.
Not usually.
So I will fill you in. So Oprah said to me, when you learn to love and appreciate your body in new ways, you will automatically learn to love and appreciate everyone else. And I'm not exactly sure how she said it, like, because everyone else is a part of you, something like that. I'm down with that because we're all one, but just different versions of. And so can you speak a little on that? Like, how does loving my body, my being, help me in this quest for...
Oh my gosh, it's the basis of everything. It's the basis of everything. So think about it. Our guidance is coming to us through our body, through our emotions and our sensations. And I got into the hot seat in my very first year of watching Abraham Hicks. It was on my second cruise, I believe, it was the Alaskan cruise. And I got into the hot seat and I was nowhere near alignment. As I told you, it took me quite a while to really, I mean, I could speak it, but I wasn't living it yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I was living it in, fits and starts, high, low, high, low, high, low.
Yeah.
I'd be laughing one second and on the floor crying like the next second. Like it was a lot of mix there for a while. But I really, really, really wanted to talk to Abraham, and I was really, really, really out of alignment. Okay. So I like forced my way up there. Like it's amazing to me even to remember like how I was just like, pick me. And they were very aware of me, and they kept picking somebody else. They kept looking right at me. And so they finally brought me up, and they were like, okay, come on. And I got up there and I asked a couple of kind of warm-up questions. and I could feel them in my head. And I was very uncomfortable with them being in my head because I felt very exposed. I felt seen. I was very out of alignment. I cannot tell you how out of alignment I was. Okay. But so I'm asked the question that I was meant to ask. You say that our guidance is in our bodies or in our emotions, I think is the way that they were saying it, or that I was quoting them. Can you have that emotion outside of your body? Like, oh, I'm just happy. You know, I can feel it kind of from here up. Like, and they were like, no, it's always in the body. If you can't feel it in the body, then you're not fully feeling it. You're not fully connected yet. I was like, really? Because I couldn't feel anything in my body at that point, like nothing. So I went home and I thought about that and I felt about it and I practiced it and I got into my body. I got reacquainted with my body. I got loving towards my body for the first time since I was probably a kid.
Wow.
And what happened was that made me able to feel my guidance. Our guidance comes through our body, comes in emotions and sensations, both, as they said. And if you don't love your body, how are you going to get your guidance?
Yeah.
How are you going to hear your intuition? How are you going to hear your inspiration? How are you going to hear that soft whisper coming out of a meditation if you're not in your body? Because it's coming to you through your body. And people say, well, I love my body. I mean, I work out 3 times a week.
Yeah, no.
Really? How do you talk to your body?
Yeah.
We're got to get rid of this fat. Oh, we got to, you know, this thing's no good. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh my gosh, you know, we got to pump some iron. No pain, no gain. These are not loving things. You would never talk to a 2-year-old that way, or your beloved spouse, right? The way we talk
I do. No.
Seriously, really, seriously.
Yeah.
We do not talk to our loved ones the way we talk to ourselves a lot, and especially about our bodies.
Yeah.
And so if you don't trust or love your body, how's your body going to love and trust you, right?
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. And so as we start to really love our bodies, to accept our bodies exactly where they are, exactly how they are, exactly when and why and all that stuff, just love. It's okay, sweetie. We'll get it next time. You know, that kind of a tone. Like the way you would talk to a dog or a cat or a child or your sweetheart or your sister or anybody. Maybe not your sister, depending on your sister relationship. But the way you'd like to talk to your sister. Yeah. So it's like this lighthearted, open, trusting, vulnerable, loving self in relationship with our body. That's where self-connection really is. It's really not about, you know, all the stuff we think it's about, taking ourselves out to the movies or overindulging on food or, you know, eating a candy bar or buying something online. We think all of these things, having a donut, you know, we think these things are ways of loving ourselves. But if we're really listening to our bodies are telling us exactly what they want. Yeah. And if you love it, you give it to it.
Yeah. And what I just noticed as well. So I'm taking this stuff very seriously, like in a lighthearted, serious way, because I love to explore, I love to grow, and I would love to experience romance again with someone that I love to be with, because my body has a very clear no. I don't want that. And then nothing's happening. Forget it. If my body says no, and she has a very strong mind.
Yes, so, she does. I've seen her in action.
True that. And I just realized this is so cool, because ever since the session that I had with Oprah, because I think that's when everything started to go in, what would the word be in English? Like got sped up. Let's just say it like that. Ever since I've been in Gina's group and am acquainted with Oprah's teaching, I just feel like something, I just got it. I'm just like, yes. So I'm off running with it. Yeah. And I've experienced that I met someone that I was super into, or that a previous version of me would have been really into. And there was kind of like this disconnect that I felt like, yeah, I'm into you, but what is it actually? Is it like my old ideas of what I used to be into? And then the more I felt and fell in love with me, because it's still a journey, and I'm further than I was then. And the attraction to this person just fell away.
Mm.
And it happened with two people that were everything on the
Mm.
physical list, but not the what do I want in qualities necessarily list. And it's very interesting, and it's also easier. It makes the game easier because I don't have to fight anything. I'm not attached to anything anymore, or like I'm still attached, but less attached than I was before.
Sure.
Like, I want it. And now I'm like, yeah, I might want it, but I think it's better not to, a bit easier. And which is such a relief, because it's not this constant fight between, yeah, I want it, but it's not good for me, because my body knows. She
Yeah.
knows.
Yes, she does.
And then this pulling, pushing, it's, I would say non-existent, but I think that's a bit too, like, just for this moment, non-existent. Yeah,
Sure.
it's like, it's this big difference, and I love that. And that's all from loving my body more.
Absolutely. But if you think about it, as you're on this journey, and like you said, you feel like your responsiveness, your expansion is speeding up. And that's beautiful. And that's what happens, when we start really mixing, when we get in community and support and encouragement and getting momentum going and a lot of reinforcement, that's what happens. And I would say consider, so let's say we're focusing on work instead of dating for just a second, like change the metaphor. So I'm focused on work, and I know it's not right where I want it to be yet. I can feel myself. I'm speeding up. I'm expanding. I'm getting to know myself. I'm being more and more authentic all the time. Well, my work, I can continue to tweak it as I go.
Yeah.
I can change the messaging. If I'm in a business and I'm working on my marketing, or I can change my work habits. Like, oh, I want to get to bed earlier so that I wake up. There are things that I can do. And there are things that I can vibrate about it. I can daydream about it. I can kind of work it into what I want it to be as I'm going. And as I get more and more expansion and more clarity, I say, oh, I could do that in my work. It's very easy. Now I'll try to apply that same thing to relationship. Relationship is what we come here for. It's the top, it's the pinnacle of expansion and connection and challenge. The most challenging thing we ever do is relate to other people. And if you attach to someone, you choose someone as a romantic partner while you're in the middle of this big expansion, well, now you've got to kind of try to drag them along with you. If you think about it, because you're in this rapid expansion mode, and they may not be. So they may be a perfect match to where you are right now, but 10 seconds later, literally, you're not. And so, which is easier, to go ahead and let your full expansion just run at rampant speeds, rapid speeds. I was trying to combine those two words, and just really get there. Not that you're going to get to any particular plateau and then hang your certificate on the wall or anything like that, but you're gonna start to feel more and more and more and more and more and more and more yourself.
Yeah.
And then when the relationship, and multiple, not just romantic, this applies to every relationship in your life, every new friend, every neighbor, every coworker, every client, every boss, everybody starts to show up in a way that matches you.
Yeah.
Which is so much easier than pulling someone along that used to match you. Yeah. And I'm not trying to make people sound like, building blocks or something, but it's a little, if you really focus on the vibrational essence of it, it's so much easier to just focus on yourself and then let other people come as they wish, as you manifest, as they manifest, as you find those matches, and when you release that attachment that this is the one, this is the
Mm.
one that completes me, this is the one I'm going to grow old with.
Yeah.
Those types of attachments, when you just say, whoa, isn't he hot? I'd
Yeah.
love to nail that
For
just a
now.
little
Yeah.
bit, right? So as
Yeah.
you release all of the societal prescriptions that say, well, you can't, even date somebody unless you intend to marry them. You can't be serious about somebody who doesn't want or does want, kids
Yeah.
or wants to
Yeah.
live in Alaska or whatever the differences
Yeah.
are. Instead, if you just say, no, this feels good right now, I'm going to explore it. I'm going to allow it. I'm not going to attach to it
Mm.
because I'm going to be different a year from
Yeah.
now. I'm going to be
Yeah.
different tomorrow. And
Mm.
so as you release that very specific attachment, all kinds of things can happen in your relationships. But with the
Wow.
attachment, you're really kind of keeping somebody away because there's an attachment there. You're
Yeah.
smarter than you're giving yourself credit for.
Yeah. Ramona, this is so good. Thank you so much for that. I just had this epiphany again. So I have always known that I'm like this, that I love to grow and explore and love to, like take knowledge and run with it. And so what I've often done was that I kept people at bay or thought, I can't start because I will leave again. And I would already kind of sabotage beforehand because I thought I'm not allowed to do this because relationships should be, I have to be committed. I have to be na. And so if I would have allowed myself, like it's done and that's fine. But just like kind of in hindsight, 2020. So if I would have allowed myself to just be fully what I understand now, just explore. Don't get attached. Don't be too, you're allowed to explore and you're allowed to leave someone as well
Yeah.
because they have responsibility for them. They have their
Yes.
own inner being. I'm not
Yes.
responsible for them. And I always knew this is such a big part of my essence, or this is my essence. I love to be free. I love to be together and I want to be free together.
Yes.
Which doesn't mean open relationship. It just means I want to be free.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's also, and I'm curious to hear what you would say about that. I guess it's also finding out what it is that I stand for, what I find important, so that I can also be clear to someone else, like, hey, this is my frame. And if we enter into this now, then this is how it probably would look. What do you think about that, about having a conversation like that? Or is that?
I think you don't have to micromanage authenticity.
Okay.
I actually don't think you have to micromanage anything. As
Yeah.
you're being tuned in, tapped in, turned on, as Abraham likes to talk about it, as they like to say, as you're being authentic, as you're being in alignment, as you're being in your vortex, and especially as you focus on joy instead of growth.
Yeah.
So growth, we growth lovers, we tend to attach to growth. And I tell you what, that was the biggest change for me, probably in my entire, 9.5 years, is the switch from focus on growth to focus on joy. So, and this is the way Abraham says it: the basis of life is freedom. The purpose of life is joy. The outcome of life is growth. Now, I love growth as much as you do, maybe even more. And I can tell you love growth like through the roof. And when I switched to focusing on joy, making decisions based on how joyful it felt, like really focusing on acquiring more joy instead of growth, proving joy. If I'm going to prove anything, let's prove how joyful I am. Yeah. As I started looking for more joy all around me, my growth went through the roof.
Yeah.
So release the attachment to growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on the joy. It's the same with relationships.
Yeah.
Focus on the longevity of it, or the meaning of it, or the purpose of it. Focus on the feeling of it. Focus on the joyfulness of it. With no attachment.
So good. It's also with my handstands. Whenever I'm like, I want to get better. It's just like I have the worst session ever. And every time, like, you know what? F it, I'm gonna play.
There you
It
go.
always turns out to be a mind-blowing session. Yeah.
There you go. You know, they've even the mainstream has done all kinds of studies on this play-based learning, like 10 times more effective, 10 times the retention rate, 10 times the speed of acquiring the information, 10 times the enjoyment of acquiring the information so it sticks with you longer. 10 times the ability to actually apply whatever the information you've just learned in your life, to infer it from one subject to the other, like literally 10 times more when you learn through play as opposed to the way we teach everything. Somebody standing at the front of the room lecturing, and drawing on the board, or these days, on a Zoom call, like
So that's joy is the key. I think that's an Abraham phrase, right?
Yes,
But
it is. They
also
have a song with that.
is it a song even?
Yeah, they play it every time in the webinars. In the seminars. Before, in the breaks and stuff. Joy is the key. They commission somebody to write a song. Joy is the key. Joy is the key.
So also with dating, let's have it be joyful again.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Someone
Exactly. That's what your pros list should be. It should be all about joy. I love it that he has a sparkle in his eye when he laughs at my jokes. I love the way he just grins at me from across the room for no good reason. I love the way he walks confidently, and especially when I'm on his arm. I love how it feels for us to be next to each other and the way our bodies fit together. Like, I love the joyfulness of this experience. That's what I want. I don't want somebody with a certain kind of hair or a certain height or a certain, race or whatever.
I feel joyful. No.
You can enjoy those things, just don't attach to them.
Yeah.
True joy, just like true desire, doesn't have attachment. We think our desires are something that frequently feels bad, but that's not the desire. That's the yearning. That's the attachment.
Yeah.
When you purely desire something, it feels fantastic, first of all. Second of all, it's pure love. And third of all, it turns around as soon as you have a desire, it turns around and starts calling you.
Yeah.
With the resources and the directive of how to find it.
Yeah.
It pulls you towards it. It's divine.
Yeah.
Every pure desire is divine. It's pure love.
Yeah. I love that. That's what I learned from Oprah in that described like that, because I really believe I posted that recently, right? Like the different colors of the rainbow. I feel like Oprah added the yellow and Neville added the red, and so I need all of these, or I don't need, I like all of these together. And then with myself in the mix, I just have the full spectrum of all the colors, and I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I have a feeling we're kind of like, for this interview, I feel complete, but is there anything else that you would like to add and with?
I would just want to add one thing, and that is, as each of us really gets in touch with loving ourselves, as we allow ourselves to truly love ourselves, it is so much easier to love others. And if you're looking for a date, learn how to love others. Like, not so judgmental, not so withheld. Like, the authentic you loves yourself and loves everybody else. And so when somebody shows up and they've got bad teeth or they've got bad whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter. Like, you can actually still appreciate them for who they are, for all the positivity that you see in them, that you feel in them. And if you end up letting them go, you're letting them go in love. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to go on a blind date ever again. It's totally different. And it starts with self-love. With self-love.
Thank you so much. Do you want to stay on for a second while I say goodbye and then? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And see you in the next.